Hi, in this video, we will be looking at Tier 3 buildings and urban drainage, which means green buildings and processing urban waters. Really, we're going to be looking at sustainable buildings more than green buildings. And so we are going to combine the concepts of green with sustainability to give us something called green buildings. So we will also be looking at biomimetic design, so biomimetic architecture as well. The first part we will be looking at is called urban strategies. So you see here there are different structures, and some of them they look really nice, they're interesting. Some of them they make you feel good. This is in Cordoba, and over here we see also these castles have been there for a very long time, and they actually provide, there's a functionality to them. They make us feel good about, in just being there. They actually inspire us to be creative. If a place inspires you and gives you this calmness to it, then there's something about the way it's been designed to give you this energy. So this is what we want to get to. We want to make the internal space giving us this way of feeling comfortable, feeling calm, and feeling also energetic and inspired and healthy. So this is where this is an example of how food can also be planted as a food forest inside the house. This is cooling of the ground by having grass, and also trapping water because of having the stone. Also all in Spain, in Andalusia. These are very huge structures that they've built. More for like for war and battles. This is another museum. It's a museum, and this is the design of this structure of the museum. This is a castle, and you can see how every castle has a fountain. But also when you go there, again, we focus on the idea of the functionality of the place in having also a place for people to meet, to feel good, to catch water. More examples over here. And so these are also spaces for people to walk, but there's also more green around them. Also a place for biodiversity to survive. And here, in whichever corner or opportunity, there's always green. The geometry, now we start to look at the different geometries, as well as over here. I'm going to take you back to this one. We see the different geometries and shapes that were employed in this kind of architecture. So I want you to focus on the geometry, on the structures, on the shapes. This is a 3-level pool where water flows from one to the other. It's a water catchment system, but also it's a cooling system. And this is a river for water to collect and flow. This is another view. And these are in Andalusia, you will find a lot of 3D models of their city, as in the historical part. So I want you to see what is going on. This is a water catchment system. This is for the water to flow here on the side, and this is also for water. We see how much there is always a green part, an aspect to it. This is the water system that I was talking about. This is to get the water down, because it makes sense, because they could not, there's no way you can get your water unless you catch it at home. So you have to keep it. And so, yeah, they had more. You can see the Islamic architecture going on there. And more here. This is, I think, yes, these are like the farm where you can also have your cattle in your house. You can see here the cooling effect and the shading effect that's coming from trees and walkways. Wherever you go, there's always going to be shade provided, and it's going to also improve the temperature, because if trees, they control the temperature and the climate, and they make it cool, and they also control the humidity. So whenever there's a tree, there's always going to be cool or at least regulated weather, normal weather. So this is a bird hide. They used to also consider the birds. And you can see here more of the arcs now. This is in Spain, but in San Sebastian. So this is in the north of Spain. And here you can, this is having the renewable energy solar system PVC. Always in Spain, they have a rule that every house needs to have photovoltaic cells added to them. Either they purchase them individually privately, or they can get a supply from the government. Now, my students in 2019 made these designs, and they were based on biomimetic and also sustainable architecture. So this is a 3D model after a lot of thinking and design and analysis and planning. They came up with this kind of design. And I also saw one in real life that is very similar to this. Also, the windows are facing the sun in certain angles and ways in order to allow the natural lighting in, but also prevent the too much light that can be annoying sometimes. This is another design. Also, you can see there's a water catchment system over here, and the water then ends up going to the plants in this case. So let's have a look at more urban strategies in details. All right, so when we look at the outdoor strategies, we have to consider for winter and summer. So for winter, we want to promote sunshine. We want to avoid wind effect. We want to protect the spaces from rain and snow. And for the summer, we want to avoid the heat gain or the shading. And we also want to promote green areas and use evaporative cooling. Evaporative cooling is having a pond. And I'm using this document from my course in renewable energy and energy efficient homes and sustainable architecture in Spain. So this is literally my work and studies. So over here, we also want to, for the winter, let's go now on in details. For winter strategies, we want to promote the sunshine, right? So the orientation of the house is very important in order to capture the sun's heat. So we need to, and sometimes avoid the sun's heat. So we study the sun movement in the outdoor place or squares or streets and boulevards on a sunny area. And we see, how do I want to orient my house? Do I want it to be south, west, east, north? And I will show you now an article about the details of this in a second. All right, let's look at this article. So here it says sitting with the sun, and it's the cost-saving benefits that you get after orienting your house. If you orient it towards the sun, you save 10 to 20% of energy. And it also, not to mention here, as it says, the lots of natural light, it creates a desirable natural ambience, contributing to your home's overall comfort. While some passive solar features are relatively recent innovations, the practice of orienting a home to the path of the sun is as old civilization itself. So it's been done. That's why I showed you the castles in the south of Spain, because they actually built them according to sun's orientation. So the sun moves, but houses stay put. And so in the summer, you have a higher summer sun, whereas in the winter, you have the lower summer sun, and you also have the factors that affect the movement of the sun, the day and night. So in the sky, the sun moves, not the sun moves, the earth moves. and basically the orientation of the house will be affected by where the sun is going to be at that time of the day. So how you properly orient your home, you need a compass. So think about how the sun moves through the day and through the year, and and basically this is going to save us. This is going to give us more shading, and it can save you money on lighting and heating bills. So The daily solar radiation on a home facing south. Okay, so this house is facing south. Usually we like to put trees to face the south because south is always has the, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it takes a lot of the sun. So trees are best placed in south facing, or solar panels are best placed south facing. So this house is south facing, as we see over here, and where the widest surface of the home, it minimizes summer exposure while maximizing winter exposure. So this is good for what? If it's south facing, it's good for winter sun. Here, this is good for cold regions, let's say. But for warm regions, that's not the best way to do it. Orient the floor plan. So here we all right, let's look at the south-facing rooms. They allow most winter sun, but little direct sun during the summer. North-facing rooms, they admit relatively even natural light and almost no unwanted summer heat, which is something we like. East-facing rooms, they receive most morning sun, locating the dining room or the breakfast on the east walls, making the most of the light potential in the morning. It's also a good place for a dense floor that can soak up the solar heat. Bedrooms, east-facing windows will be great for early risers, but terrible for people who like to sleep in. West-facing rooms collect early evening light because the sun is low in the sky. West-facing windows get direct sunlight blazing through them. This makes them a bad choice for TV rooms since strong light makes the screens harder to see. So based on this, guys, you can choose where you want to orient your rooms in the house. But at this point, we won't get into the details of this, but just for you to think about where your kitchen can be, where your laundry room can be. You know, some rooms, they don't require light, and some rooms they require light. So the living room, it's good to have light. Some bedrooms, if you're an early riser, as they said, east facing is good. North facing is also excellent. And west could be for like laundry rooms or bathrooms. There's more that you can look up. I will put for you more details that more examples of websites that you can look at, and look into as much as you want. So there are more website resources that you can look into for your own research. There they are. So you can click on these and get to know more about the strategies for light. Usually, what is done now is to we do a climate analysis, and from the climate analysis, there's something called Giovanni strategies. These will tell us what we need to do for winter, summer, and so when we do the climate analysis, we see like for December, for June, for March, for September, what's the weather like, and the humidity as well as the temperature. Now the next one is avoiding the wind effect. To avoid the winds, we can use natural elements such as trees and bushes or walls. So here the wind goes on top of them, so they act as an obstacle to protect the house. So trees can be called windbreakers. And there are specific types of trees that you can look up that are called wind breakers. Here's an example of the wall, also as a way to stop the wind from coming in, as like a fence. And you can see how the wind direction is being directed away from the house. Here it goes up instead of going directly onto the house. Also here it's like having these walls with this kind of geometry will break the wind as well. So that surface area breaks the wind. Okay, protecting the spaces from rain and snow. So we can use arcades to protect people from rain and snow. Here, this is Bern. So the use of arcades. These are arcades. These are arcades. So they provide us shelter over here for people to walk underneath them. And they also provide for shade in the summer. And they also protect spaces from rain as well, as you can see under the arcs. Now for this summer, we can avoid, first of all, the first strategy is avoiding heat gain by providing with shading. So canopies and awnings, and they can be added and removed, but trees are the best to do that actually. And so here's more canopies. Some of these actually can be moved and oriented differently according to the movement of the sun. Like blinders, they rotate. Making streets narrow. Making streets narrow will mean that more of the building is going to cover the space, and so less of the light is going to be concentrated. So this is in Spain, you find this a lot. In Europe, yeah, Granada, yes, I've seen that before. I guessed right. And this is in Fez in Morocco. So in Europe, they have these streets a lot. And it actually makes you buy more because you see the shops more often. Okay, promote green areas. Yes, this is it. Green areas. Green areas mitigate urban heat due to evapotranspiration. And so the temperature will always be controlled because of having these trees all around and all year long. Versus when you don't have trees, as you see over here, the temperature is going to rise. So this is, I mean, any place that has green will always feel cool. Mixed paving. So the paving over here, like I showed you at the beginning, basically it has green in it. This will control the temperature. And it also has like the tiles themselves. Now this also can promote water catchment. It will slow down the movement of water. Use evaporative cooling. Use front water areas as evaporative cooling strategies over here. So here they have fountains. In France, yeah, they do this a lot in France, also in Nice. This is in Granada. If you've been to Granada, you've seen all of these pools and fountains. Okay, now so moving on to a sustainable design and the definition of a sustainable design. So sustainability is a broad concept that refers to a building's overall ability to provide comfortable, healthy, and a productive environment over the long term without negatively impacting the environment. Sustainable buildings aren't just about the environment, but take into account all three pillars of sustainability: the planet, the people, and the profit. So we say people, economy, and ecology. I took this from an article and I'm just quoting there for you. How can a building be built and used with consideration for the future of our people, planet, and the business itself? So to truly be a sustainable building, this ideology must be baked at every stage of a building's life cycle. This is the ideology that we're going to be looking at. For example, planning. Are you building on previously undisturbed land? Because we don't want to come and kill the biodiversity. Design. When you design architecture considers, for example, window placement for optimal and natural ventilation and light. Construction. Are these materials used safe for the environment and the occupants? Does the construction process conserve natural resources? We're going to get into the details of these. Operation and maintenance. Is the energy and the water being used efficiently? Are cleaning products safe for the occupants? Demolition. Will solid waste and disposed materials be handled in an environmental safe manner? And these are from me, I added these. Is it weather resistant to wind, floods, hurricanes, extreme hot and cold weather? Catch water? Passive heating and cooling? Does it provide with natural light? Can people grow food? Is there an outdoor space for people, green outdoor space for people? Now, when we say sustainability, it means we're looking at the the society, the culture, the history. Sometimes there's a tradition that comes into the building and saving energy, saving money, and also getting the benefits of the payback time when you use insulation, let's say, or you use natural light, and the low impact on the environment. And you remember from the previous tier how the we had these specifications for working with the ecology. We want green buildings and technologies and clean water cycles. We want to increase the biodiversity. We want to grow food, and we want to have 100% renewable energy in our building. And we want to use other materials that were supposed to be wasted. We upcycle them and use them for buildings over here. We're involving the people in the design. We're referring to traditional wisdom. We're learning from nature and practicing whole systems thinking. And this is called biometric design. We're going to be looking at this one now. And are we allowing a space that allows us to connect to nature? Are we feeling mindful in this place? Are we feeling that our cultural traditions can still be maintained in this place? And are we celebrating life, let's say, by being in this space? And is this space providing, for example, an opportunity for art to be performed? It could be any kind of building, but also a place that allows people to stand and be themselves, like engage. Communities can gather and meet. And it can cultivate responsive decision making, like people can have a space for that, and have leadership and participatory leadership and peace building. There's going to be also the kind of the building, like it's an example of accountable institutions. It could be also a building that allows that gives holistic education and healthcare. It's and so basically it also saves money and empowers and strengthens the local economies.